In this video, we're going to start the conversion process for the Notes application. It's going to be very similar to converting the Hangman application with two notable exceptions. First up, we have two third-party modules that we're going to install and import. We're using UUID and we're using Moment, so we're going to use what we learned in the last video to get that done. The other thing we're going to need to take into consideration is that this app has two HTML pages. Each of those pages loads a different script to bootstrap that particular part of the application. So we're going to have to figure out how we can set that up with Webpack as well. It's actually a really easy process. So let's go ahead and kick things off by duplicating the correct directory. Over in the Finder, I am going to rename the current Notes app to Notes app old. Then I'm just going to duplicate the boilerplate directory, and that'll be the copy of the boilerplate that we actually work from. I'll call this one Notes app. Now we're ready to start the process of copying files from Notes app old over to Notes app. Now, once again, for images, styles, and our HTML files, we can bring those over as is to the public directory. So I'm going to bring images into public. I'll bring styles into public. Then I'm going to bring over both edit.html and index.html. Now there's already the index.html from the boilerplate. We can go ahead and just replace that with the one that we just copied over. This brings us to that first important difference between the Hangman app and the Notes app. The fact that the Hangman app just had a single HTML page, while the Notes app has two HTML pages. Now remember, each HTML page for the Notes app has its own code that it needs to run to start things up. The problem is that in our previous application, we just had a single bundle file that ran, which means that the single bundle file couldn't possibly service both HTML files, and you're right. So we're going to go ahead and talk about how we can solve that problem by adding just a few lines of code to the Webpack config file. Instead of having a single bundle, we're going to have two bundles. We're going to have one for index.html, and we're going to have another for edit.html. So over in the source directory, we're still going to have index.js. This is the file that'll bootstrap index.html, but we're going to create another file as well, edit.js, and this is the file that's going to bootstrap the edit.html page. For the moment, let's go ahead and just put a console.log in each so we can see things print. Console.log, printing edit.js to the screen, and an index.js, console.log, printing index.js to the screen. Now over inside of Webpack config, we're going to make a few changes to both entry and output. The first change we'll need to make is converting entry from being an array over to an object. Now, we are still going to use this array in a few moments, so I am going to copy it to the clipboard, delete it, and then set up the object for entry. On this object, we're going to have key value pairs, where the key is some sort of file name, and the value is the array of files we want to load. So in this case, index for the index page, the value is an array of those files, exactly as we had it before. Now, this is just for index. We can also create one for edit. Right here, I'm going to set up an array. The first one is Babel -polyfill, just like above. The second one, /source/edit.js. Now, we do have to change output as well, because right now it is outputting a file called bundle.js. What we're going to do is have it output two files where we can use this value in the file name. So right up front, we're going to include that name. To do that, we use the brackets, open and close them. Inside of there, we put name. This code highlighted is going to be replaced with whatever value is here for the bundle. So in this case, it is going to make two bundle files. We're going to make one called index-bundle.js, which will contain everything here. We're going to make another called edit-bundle.js, which will contain all of this stuff. So in the end of the day, we have two bundles, we have two entry places, one for each HTML page. With the two bundles in place, we can now load them in the correct HTML file. So for index.html, we're only going to need one script tag, not four. So let's delete the other three. The actual source will be /scripts/index edit-bundle.js. And that is the only script tag we need for this file. In edit.html, we're going to go through the same process. We only need a single script tag /scripts/edit-bundle.js. So now each HTML file is loading in the correct entry point. We have a separate file in the source directory for each. So in edit.js, I can boot up the edit page. In index.js, I can boot up the code necessary for the index page where you actually view your notes list. Let's switch over to the terminal and get all of this running. I'm going to shut down our previous dev server with Control-C. That was for the Hangman app. We can use cd:/notes-app to navigate into the new project folder. Before we can actually run the dev server, we do have to run npm install to get all of those dependencies installed. Once our dependencies are set up, we're going to run the dev server and just make sure we see those two logs. If we're seeing those two logs, then we know the infrastructure is set up, and then we can focus on actually converting the code over, which is going to be a challenging but fun process because we're going to learn a few new things along the way. All right, terminal, done. npm run dev-server. Once this is up, we'll be able to refresh things in the background. And there we go. We are seeing the notes application. Now, currently, the app isn't going to work because nothing's wired up. It's not actually doing anything with any of these inputs, but down below, we do see index.js. If I switch over to the other page, /edit.html, I should see this page, obviously not wired up, but I do get my edit.js message down below. So now we have both of those bundles getting created, and each page is loading the correct bundle. We're now ready to actually convert the files from the old source directory, the old scripts directory, over to the new source directory. We'll get to that process in the next video. Let's take a quick moment to recap. We had 2 HTML files, which means that we needed 2 bundle files, so we can start up each HTML page the way it needs to be started up. We were able to do this by making a change to Webpack config. Instead of setting entry equal to an array and having just a single bundle, we were able to set entry equal to an object where we can specify as many bundles as we needed. In this case, we had an index bundle, which starts up Babel polyfill and index.js, and we had an edit bundle, which started up Babel polyfill and edit.js. Now that we have all of this in place, we're ready to continue on with the rest of the conversion process. I'm super excited to get to that, so let's go ahead and jump into the next one.